I will not spin plates to make everyone happy.
I will not duck to avoid hitting the glass ceiling.
I will not stay in a small box where I cannot control my life.
I will not just stand on the sidelines and cheer the team on.
I will not carry ancestral baggage, fearful that if I lay down, there will be no purpose in my life.
I will not do something well that doesn't make me happy.
I will not speak so softly that my voice is not heard.
I will not sit at home while others experience the world.
I will not wear masks to avoid being seen fully or upsetting others.
I will not convince myself that tomorrow will suffice when it comes to following my bliss.
I will not play follow the leader unless I am the leader.
Follow your bliss.
Hello and welcome to Hear Me Roar. I'm your host, Alexis Matthews. Last time we talked about media and the pressures they put on women to look a certain way. Today we're going to discuss how the media affects masculinity and the pressures they put on men. Is it the same, less, or more than it affects women? Stay tuned after the break for a chat with Dre Newsome. Hi, and welcome back to Hear Me Roar. Right now, I'm here with student Dre Newsome. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good. So you have a really interesting backstory of how you grew up and your family. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I was adopted at 4 years old, and me and my two other brothers, we got adopted into a family of 28 at that time. Mm-hmm. So I have 32 brothers and sisters from adoption, and I was born in Toledo, but we grew up in a separate house in Bowling Green, Ohio, and the house is like 200 by 150. People used to call it Noah's Ark, upside down. But growing up was a lot different than what normal people I would say grew up.
Yeah, I understand that your dad stayed at home most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom was more the father figure, and my dad did more of the staying at home and taking care of all of us. And we all pitched in with our own chores and stuff like that, but to release him from a lot of the stress. But he was, more of the mother figure in our life.
That seems a bit different than how the media portrays men.
Yeah, the media portrays men the other way around, practically. Mm-hmm. He did have a job before. He did have a job before he had all those kids, but when I got adopted, I was the fourth last, and that was kind of the end of the line of the adoption, and he already done working, staying at home, taking care of all of us while our mom was doing jobs on the side and doing her part.
Did that affect you any? Your dad stayed home?
I think it did in a positive way. As far as like the things that men are mainly interested in, as far as sports and weightlifting and stuff, he was always at home, so he could give me tips on fitness and nutrition and eating right and all that stuff, so that was definitely a benefit.
That's really cool. Because you're African American, how did that affect you growing up, if it did any?
It did a little bit. I didn't really get that concept because as a lot of other people would, because I was adopted at 4, and I kind of grew up in a white, they're Caucasian, so growing up with them, we kind of just blended in as their family. But anytime we went out in public, and people would look at us different. Okay, why has he got, you know, African American kids and Asian kids and white kids and stuff like that? That made me realize, all right, like, why are we different? You know what I'm saying? So they kind of took us aside and was like, all right, this is, well, why people are looking at you this way. I mean, it doesn't really have an effect unless you let it affect you. And so for me, like, I just kind of look past it. I mean, if you have a problem with it, you do, but I'm not going to dwell on it.
That's really cool. We're going to come back and talk to Dre later, so stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm still here with Dre. So you were talking before the break about how you didn't really get the concept of why people thought it was different. So I'm wondering, do you think there are challenges for African American boys who are growing up?
I do think there are a lot of challenges. As far as like when I actually moved out and then got introduced into like how the public sees African Americans and Caucasians and Asians and stuff like that, it kind of hit me in the face harder than living at home because we were a little bit like sheltered and homeschooled and stuff like that. So I had to adjust, but I didn't really let it affect me much. I mean, like, if you respect me, I'm gonna respect you regardless of your background.
That's cool. Do you, because we live in Eastern Kentucky, is there any, you know, what am I looking for? Because there's a lot of, you know, Caucasian people here. Do you feel any discrimination or anything here in Eastern Kentucky?
I mean, I could see it from certain people in certain areas, but is it new? No, because in Bowling Green it was similar the same way. Anytime us African American kids would go out and play, the people be driving, you know, 10 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, just staring at us like, who are they? You know, because that's not where the African American are mainly popular in that area. So as far as like, is it new to me? No. I mean, I've already learned how to adjust. Like, it doesn't really affect me, but I do see it in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas and stuff. But
Okay. Because you said you learned to adjust. How did you do that?
I just have this mindset, whether, like I was telling you before, like if you respect me, I'm gonna respect you. So I mean, when you come and talk to me, if you're looking at me like, okay, I see you in a different way, in a negative way, well then I'm gonna respond that way. But if you see me as just another person, you know, trying to be successful in life, like I don't care your background, I'm gonna just blend in and associate with you.
Okay. Do you have any advice for young African American men?
Yeah, I do. Just be true to yourself. Don't try to blend into the crowd to fit in, or what the media portrays you to be, or who your favorite role model says you should be. I mean, be yourself. Everybody's different in their own way, and that's what makes you unique in life. And so, I mean, I say be true to yourself, and also appreciate your culture. I mean, everybody has their own backgrounds and stuff, and if you want to do research on it, you can. I mean, there's a lot of good things and positives about your background.
Okay, thank you so much. That's really great advice. Stay tuned after the break when we're going to talk to Chad Hedrick about what it's like being on television and being a man. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Chad Hedrick. You're co-host of MSU's What's Up.
Yes,
Can
that
you
is true.
can you give me a bit of a brief rundown of what the show's about?
What's Up is mainly about 4 students on campus talking about the current issues in politics and pop culture, anything going on in the world and on campus. And we always try to zoom them in onto campus-related issues and how they affect the students on campus. And then we also have guests come on to the show from faculty, students, and people around Moorhead, or just to talk about things and why students should be aware of these issues, because as a college kid, you need to start paying attention to the real world and like the elections we had last night.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So since you are on TV, do you feel pressure to look a certain way because of the way that men are portrayed in the media?
I do. I think that a lot of it is, I try to always look my best on TV because I feel like I'm representing myself in MSU TV, and also for a job interview or something, when they see my reel, they're like, oh, he looks the part. And that's the thing. In media, especially in news and television, you have to look a certain way, because I think that's something that attracts the viewers, and they want somebody that's good looking, and it's a pressure to have that body build and to work out, and I try to work out and eat right because I do feel pressure to look like Channing Tatum or Brad Pitt or whatever, and not, some person sitting behind a desk that nobody sees.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But going back to the show, you have 4 co-hosts.
That's correct.
2 men, 2 women. Did you do that on purpose so people weren't like, oh, it's too feminine or too masculine?
We do, and it's not for that reason. It's a lot of it is just to balance the equation, because we want to have the men and women and races and genders represented equally on our show. That way we can get a different perspective when we're talking about hot topics, because that's 4 opinions that are seeing the same issue but in different ways, in different viewpoints. And that's what we try to do. And we want it to be equal because we don't want a co-host to feel ganged up on by a person. You know, and a lot of times it's probably just a one-on-one conversation. Like on this week's show, we went to a split screen because things got so heated and talking about the election. But the important thing is, Caroline and I, at the end of the segment, we hugged it out. We're fine. Yeah. We're best friends.
Okay, that's really cool. Stay with me,
I
because
will.
we're going to come back and talk to Chad more about men in the media. Welcome back. We're still here with Chad. So I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people feel that the media is heavily male. There's a lot of male men in there. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think in certain situations that's true. I think for ESPN, for example, or Sports Center, that's a heavily male-dominated show. And the women that they do use, they're on the sidelines talking to the coaches, and they don't really use the women as a way for them to give sports commentary. They're talking to the coach, hey, what'd you think of the first half? And so I do think in situations like that, yes. And then I also think there are situations where it's more female dominated, like daytime talk shows or something, for example. That's a more female dominated audience, and so that's a way for them to connect. And it's a lot about who the audience is, I think, and that's what determines who hosts what.
Do you have any idea on how we could kind of fix that and get more women in sports and more men in daytime or whatever?
I think a lot of it is you just have to find in the audience ways that the females can relate to the sports and how men can relate to the daytime talk shows. And that's kind of what we do with What's Up, is we try to, because we do have 2 men and 2 women, or we try to blend get audiences in both genders to enjoy the show, because there's somebody on that panel. There's 4 of us, me, Austin Burke, Sydney Boyd, and Caroline Clay. They're going to connect to one of us, and that's what I think it is. You just have to mix up the bunch and have all the races taken care of and represented, and also both genders represented.
Okay. Really quick, do you have any advice for anybody who's wanting to, male or female, who wants to work in the media in the future?
I think my number 1 advice is to be yourself. also you have to have a strong personality. You know, you have to be able to hold a conversation with somebody and ask questions. And again, unfortunately, you do have to have a certain look, and so that's what I think is it's important to look your best. I should say that. Not, you don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to have a six-pack, and you know, but you do have to be able to represent yourself and the company or the channel that you're representing.
And be confident.
And be confident.
Yeah.
You have to be confident.
That's a big one. All right, thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we're going to have more. Stay tuned.
Claypool Young Art Gallery, located in the center of campus, offers a wide variety of art pieces from various contemporary artists in America. Exhibitions rotate approximately once a month and also host art pieces created by Morehead State University students, allowing art majors to experience the learning process of showcasing their art. Claypool Young Art Gallery. Come on over today and be inspired by aspiring MSU artists.
Addison, why are you dressed up like that?
Because you're in a dream, John.
How can you prove that?
Your body's still there.
What?
Wake up and smell the coffee. Java City.
Welcome back to Hear Me Roar. Again, I'm your host, Alexis. Next, we have a music video and short interview with MSU's very own Stephen Middleton, so check it out.
You rolling on that one? Yep.
Since I was probably 12 or 13. My dad played music. My dad played guitar and a little bit of mandolin. He played honky tonks and bars when I was a kid. Well, I learned Hank Williams songs first because that's what my dad played. But I quickly learned how to play songs that I thought was cool. And songs that I thought was cool were songs by the Smashing Pumpkins and Alice in Chains and all these, 90s bands. And that slowly mixed when I discovered the Grateful Dead when I was a senior in high school and met other fans of the Grateful Dead. My music playing forever changed. I don't know, I didn't really want to play those songs anymore. It was more like jam songs you could just hang out with your friends and play music with. So I don't like playing electric guitar. It's not that I don't understand, because if you play electric guitar like an acoustic guitar, it sounds weird. So you have to use effects pedals and you know, Dwight Yoakam never used an electric guitar, so why should I?
Do you think Eastern Kentucky has its own kind of brand of music?
At one time it did. I'd say 50 years ago it did. But now people in Eastern Kentucky are listening to the same garbage that people are in Cincinnati and, you know, any other major city. I mean, at one point it was more traditional hymns, which led to country music and more traditional music, Appalachian mountain music, you know, fiddle and banjo and old fiddle tunes. You know, that really went away. The 80s were kind of the last generation of people that died off that played that. You know, people have had to study that music to go back to the roots of what they play, but I don't really think Eastern Kentucky, other than country, mainstream country, is what people listen to here. I mean, but you got to seek out traditional music and study it to even know what it is. You know, I mean, there's famous fiddlers and banjo players all around these counties, but most people would have no idea who they were unless you studied them.
Okay, that video is going to be a part of a bigger project about music in Eastern Kentucky, so keep a lookout for that. After the break, we're going to sit down with Associate Professor of Physics, Cap Yes, so stay tuned.
Lord, what fools these mortals be.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
I have always depended on the kindness of
Welcome back. I'm here with Cap Yes. How are you doing?
Wonderfully.
That's good. So I wanted to ask you what your idea of what masculinity is.
Well, of course, there's many aspects to that. Some of them very traditional, you know, the leading man, the strong person, that kind of thing. But for me, I think masculinity is as much a state of mind. I think it's a real disposition. Some of the aspects of that disposition are very traditional. Someone who can face, you know, adversity, someone who's willing to lead, someone who cares about others. I think those are aspects of the type of personality that a masculine person, that a grown, mature adult male should have.
Okay. Do you, because there's, do you think the media affects it in any way?
I think the media affects it immensely. They try to give us physical caricatures of the masculinity, the Marlboro Man, that kind of thing, the very traditional thing. But I think also sometimes it can be surprising, like the show Everyone Loves Raymond. I think, you know, over time, people got familiar with that character and that actor, and I think that person represented a lot of masculinity in that period of time that they were on the air.
Do you, because we talk a lot about how the media has got this image of the perfect woman. Is there the image of a perfect man?
I think there is an ideal man out there that maybe Madison Avenue or other agencies are trying to project. However, it's multifaceted, so it's more complex than just one look or one type. Or one disposition, or one pose, or and it does change in time. So yes, they're trying, but I don't think they want it to be so singular, or they rule everyone out, because no one's going to meet that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, stay with me. We're going to come back and have more with Cap.
And all its sights and sounds.
Boom-diada, 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 boom-diada.
I love philosophy.
We love diversity. I love English.
and all its weird words.
I love the music
and all its melodies. Boom diada, boom diada.
Boom diada, boom diada.
I love fraternities.
I love sororities.
I love to draw things.
And all the athletes.
I love Moorhead.
It's such a pretty place.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about masculinity and things. I wanted to ask you, because if there's a difference between what it was like when you were growing up for men and what it is now.
I think there's very much a difference. And there's probably many influences on that, but one I could point out that I think people are very aware of is the acceptance of homosexuality in the culture, and also people on TV who are playing that role or in movies. And so that's really opened up the whole range of what men are sort of allowed to be and still be masculine. I think many of the people who are portraying homosexuals on TV and in the media also have many of the characteristics that have traditionally been masculine. And so that sort of that additional approach to life has really made it easier for a lot of people. There are other things that have also done that, but I think that's one of them. I think the fact that we have a more global society has introduced foreign elements of masculinity into our own culture that has made it easier for men to just pick or choose a little bit about which aspects of masculinity that are more comfortable for them, instead of being quite so directed towards one or two images or ideas of what masculinity is. And I think it's good.
Okay. Well, with that being said, do you think it's going to change for the future? Do you think it'll be even easier?
I guess I do. It's hard to know the trends. I mean, things can change, but I don't think the globalization effect is going to go away. This is increasingly a smaller and smaller world. We're exposed to more things. And because we're exposed to more things, I think that opens up more avenues for men to be men, to feel like men, and still be more themselves than maybe they were able to be in the past.
Okay. Do you have any advice for young men growing up on how to battle the idea of what the perfect masculinity is?
Yeah. So it's really important to be self-confident. And if you are lucky enough to have parents or friends or siblings who can instill in you self-confidence, that's going to go a long way, because that'll mean you can do what you think is best and what you feel most comfortable with, and not have to worry about what other people are saying or thinking about you. And try your best to do that. And if you're having a bad spot, and adolescence can certainly be that time for a lot of young men where they're really wondering about themselves and how they fit in with others, it's important to remember that that goes away. And most of us live through it very well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I wanted to ask you about your name, because it's really interesting.
All right.
Can you explain how you got the name Cap? Yes.
So my first name, my father named me after a cartoon character. I guess his name was Andy Capp, and I don't think that strip exists anymore, but he's now on a Cheez-Its kind of a package.
Okay.
So I'm named after him. And my last name is some kind of an aberration from the German name, and we don't know what the original name was. I don't know if it was changed when we got to Ellis Island or where. But my theory is that someone in Germany told my relatives that when you get there, whatever they ask you, you just say yes.
That's really cool.
That's how it happened.
That's cool. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I want to thank Dre Newsome and Chad Hedrick for being on the show. Next, make sure you stay tuned for the next episode, where we're going to be talking about sexuality. Thank you so much.